Good afternoon. I would like to call the meeting to order and welcome everyone to the June 12th meeting of the City County Planning Board. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Today's meeting is being broadcast live on TV 13 and will be rebroadcast at 10 a.m. Friday morning and again at 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Our first order of business today will be the consent agenda. These are items for which the petitioner is requesting withdrawal or continuance, or items for which staff has recommended approval and no one has signed up to speak in opposition. For public hearings today, each side will have a total of 12 minutes. There will be no rebuttal period. Once the public hearing is closed and the board goes into work session, no one is permitted to speak unless the planning board member addresses them for a question. For general use district zoning requests, the planning board must consider the full range of uses allowed in the zoning district being requested. The petitioner may not refer to a specific use of the property. For special use district zoning requests, however, the petitioner must identify the intended use or uses of the site and give specific details on how the site will be developed. Items under Section B of the agenda will require final action by the appropriate elected body, that being either the city council or county commissioners. As such, votes taken today by the planning board concerning these items are recommendations that will be considered by the elected bodies during their review of the requests. Before addressing the planning board today, we will need your name, address, and zip code for the record. Our first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the May 8th and May 22nd meetings. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposition, that is unanimous. All right, we'll now call on Mr. Mark Allred for our consent agenda for today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first up is item B7, F1392. Has requested a continuance of more than 8 days from the planning board meeting, so they will be coming to the July 10th, 2025 planning board meeting. Next up is item B4. They requested a continuance of less than 8 days before the planning board meeting, so I will need a vote from the board to continue item B4, case W3650.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue this to our next meeting. Is that what you're?
Correct.
Okay.
We have a motion by Mr. Lamb. Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Pose the same sign. Without objection, that moves forward.
Hey, our first case today is item B1. This is W3647. The petitioner is Lavetta Wright, and this is a rezoning request from limited industrial to pedestrian business limited use. The petitioner is requesting the uses residential building single family and residential building duplex. And the site is located at the intersection of Dixie Broadway and Fayetteville Street. It is adjacent to the LA zoning district you see here, but most of the uses you see in this LA zoning district is residential building single family. You do have RM18 to the north, you have HB to the west, but these three buildings you see are directly across the street are duplexes. And just to the southwest is the UNC School of Arts. That's what this larger building you see here would see, campus. All right, you can see from the aerial, this is an undeveloped site. All right. So this is a South Central Winston-Salem area plan update, recommends urban residential infill for this site. Urban residential infill is a mix of single family, duplex, triplex, and quadruplex. Staff finds this request is consistent with 4/2045 and the South Central Winston-Salem area plan update. The proposal would provide housing with access to public sidewalks and transit, and staff recommends approval.
Any questions for staff? All right, no one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the motion of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with a comprehensive plan.
So a motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W3647.
So a motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is also unanimous.
So B2 does have opposition, so this was be taken off consent. And next up is item B3. This is W3649. The applicant is W. Sanders Mosley and Elizabeth Mosley. This is a rezoning request from general industrial to pedestrian business limited use. The uses they are asking for is arts and crafts studio, club or lodge, offices, museums or art galleries, indoor recreation services, services A, and special event center. As you can see on the map, this is on GI, and the GI district you see goes up to the north and northeast. Just abutting here to the south is the RSQ Historic Overlay District here. And up here to the northwest is the West End Millworks development. So gives you a landmark of where we're at. And the aerial here shows a developed site containing approximately 10,400 square feet of warehouse building and associated parking that was constructed in 1967. And the South Central Area Plan update acknowledges the site was previously a neighborhood scale church, so that's why it's recommended for institutional. The request is consistent with 42045 in the area plan, which supports the reuse of older, underutilized commercial and industrial properties. It would also eliminate the potential of some high-impact uses that could be allowed under GI. For these reasons, staff recommends approval.
Any questions for staff? No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What's the motion of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Motion by Mr. Lamb.
Second.
Second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W3649.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb.
Second.
Second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is also unanimous.
Okay. Next is this one was continued. So item B4 was continued to the July Planning Board meeting. So, and B5 does have opposition, so this is coming off consent. All right, so next I have is item B6. This is W3652. The petitioner is the residents at Indiana Avenue LLC, and the project has the same name, the residents at Indiana Avenue. This is a site plan amendment of 10.23 acres. As you can see here to the north, you have is RS9 single family, and a little here to the west. To the east is RM18, which is also apartments. And to the south, you do have a railroad that splits it, and just on the other side of the railroad, you do have a combination of townhomes and apartments in RM18. The aerial shows this as an undeveloped site. The North Suburban Area Plan update recommends intermediate density residential, which recommends up to 18 dwelling units per acre. And as you see here, this is a proposed 180-unit multifamily development, which is the same as the previous site plan that was approved. This does have 5 three-story apartment buildings, 18,735 square feet of open space. That's across different multiple areas. The amenities include a clubhouse, picnic shelter, and a playground down here on the south side. There is sidewalks along Indiana Avenue that you see here, and pedestrian connections internally between the apartments and the different recreational areas. This site plan complies with all UDO requirements and use-specific conditions. And the building elevations are revised from the previous site plan, which included a mix of 3- and 4-story buildings with flat roofs. So what they're changing it to is to all 3-story buildings with gable roofs that better integrate with the surrounding residential community. The request is for approval of site plan amendment. The proposed revisions including realigning the internal streets, relocating the central recreation area to other parts of the site, and changing the building elevations from flat to gabled roofs, and removing one stormwater pond. Apologize about that. This site plan will comply with all UDO requirements and use-specific conditions. And staff does recommend approval of this request.
Any questions for staff on this one? No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with a comprehensive plan.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb.
Second.
Second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that the planning board recommend approval of W 3652.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposes? That is unanimous as well.
Next case is B8F1660. The applicant is Billy Rose Robertson Generation Skipping Family Trust, Hugh Robertson and William Robertson. The project is called Maple Grove, and it's also a site plan amendment of 24.6 acres. You can see on the site plan that it's surrounded by RS9 on almost all sides. You do have a manufactured housing development to the west. The aerial also has this site plan as undeveloped. The South Suburban Area Plan recommends single-family residential here. And this is a 94 single-family homes on a 24.6 acre site. The request is coming to you because of the removal of a driveway connection on South Main Street that requires a site plan amendment to the approved plan of record. So that is the reason why it's coming for you. Staff does meet that this is consistent with Legacy 2030 and a South Suburban Area Plan update. The area plan recommends single-family residential uses for this site, and staff recommends approval.
Any questions for staff? What is the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Lamb
You got people signed up this week?
on B8.
Yeah. F 1660, right?
Yeah. That's this case.
Yeah.
Is there something wrong?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I thought they were signed up to speak.
I think it's been renumbered.
Yeah, it must be.
Okay.
Yeah, it must be renumbered.
Did y'all add a case since the agenda? Or
this is
renumbered your
1660.
cases?
But I guess because there's nobody in opposition.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, previous motion on the floor.
I move approval.
Second. All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
They usually gave them a chance to talk.
Item number B9 does have opposition, so this is coming off consent.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, if we could go back, I think we had a motion on the floor for the comprehensive plan, but we did not.
We didn't. I move that the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comp plan, with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion is second. Mr. Lamb, Mr. Grubbs, all those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
I have a question. Why is this not a planning board approval? Why is this a public hearing?
This is, if you recall, from some of our changes we've had to the ordinance over time, when we did UDO clear code and when we did the changes to the general statutes, we actually incorporated into the UDO the staff change authority granted by both the city council and the county commissioners. The city council's staff change authority is much broader and leaves a lot more room for interpretation. It allows staff to make independent calls related to the impacts that we perceive are going to happen. The county staff change authority is much more prescriptive, and it specifically says changes to the location of access points. And so I had a specific question. I talked to the county attorney and said, I know this says location, but does the elimination of a connection require it to go back? And he said, yes, it does. Right. And again, this is not, and we didn't get into it, but this was not something that the developer just decided to do. Even though it had been through several rounds of review through interdepartmental, whenever it came time to actually review the civils and issue a driveway permit, NCDOT went out and just decided there was no way they could issue the driveway permit there. One of the locations would be too close to the Fishel and Jones Road intersection. The other location had a slight distance issue. So anyway, that's why it has to go back formally to the commissioners.
Thank you for the question and the answer.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
As stated before, item B9 does have opposition, so this will come off consent. All right. Next is item C1. This is subdivision 2025053. This is a Northwalk subdivision. It's a 26-lot major subdivision on 13.48 acres at the western terminus of Pollyanna Drive and northern terminus of Oak Haven Forest Drive. So the site plan shows a 26-lot major subdivision with one access off Pollyanna Avenue. Site plan meets UDO requirements, and staff recommends approval.
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
And next is item number D1. This is PBR 2025-10. This is the Wyandotte Woods PRD. It's a 20-lot PRD in RS9. Did I say that wrong? Is it Wyandotte? Okay. All right, so I think it's Wyandotte Woods. It's a 20-lot PRD in RS9, 4.39 acres at the west side of Wyandotte Avenue, north of Michigan Street. This is a 20-lot PRD with one access off Wyandotte Avenue. The development will have one active open space and proposed sidewalk on the north side of Peyton Place Street. Site plan meets UDO requirements, and staff recommends approval.
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, we'll go back to item B2.
Have a good one. Thank you. Have a good one, Vince.
And we'll hear from Rory on this case. He'll give us the staff presentation.
All right, good evening, board and audience. This is case 3648. The petitioners are Martin Marish Garcia, Martha Beatriz Ayala, Juan Carlos Marish Ayala, and Shannon Amanda Tinsley. The site itself is 0.26 acres located at the northeast intersection of East Clemensville Road and Peachtree Street. And the petitioners are requesting a special use limited rezoning from neighborhood business special use to neighborhood business limited. They already have, they have one use allowed and established on the property, which is Services A. And what the petitioners are attempting to do is add on the uses retail store and restaurant without drive-through to this location. So you see here, here is a picture of the location in the site. It is within GMA 2 urban neighborhoods within the Southeast Ward. As you can see here via the location map, the property is surrounded by a majority of single-family homes and residences. You can see here the site is already developed with a building in the front and parking lot in the back. Now, the Southeast Winston-Salem area plan update does recommend commercial use for this property, and the neighborhood business district itself recommends low-intensity commercial and retail use that appeals to surrounding neighborhood and residential uses. So here is a picture looking east of the subject property from Peachtree Street. Looking south in Peachtree Street, subject property is to the left. Note the single-family homes along this road. Looking north from the subject property across East Clemensville Road. Looking northeast on East Clemensville Road, subject property to the right. And finally, looking west from the subject property across Peachtree Street. So you see it's a single-family area. So in summary, the request is consistent with the recommendations of both Forward 2045 and the Southeast Winston-Salem area plan update. So the request would provide services to nearby residents with minimal negative impacts, basically getting rid of the established site plan to add for more flexibility and development, and adding on the two uses to the existing Services A within a district that allows low-intensity commercial and retail use. And finally, the request would allow increased flexibility in using underutilized property by adding the uses retail store and restaurant without drive-through. Therefore, staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for staff?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Does neighborhood business district have any restrictions on outdoor dining or activities? Just looking at the pictures, I was just wondering.
Mr. Figurby, it does not. There are some design-based requirements to the NB district, but since this is an existing structure, they obviously wouldn't have to go back and retrofit, particularly given that they've already got NB zoning.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Howard. So we will have a public hearing on this. Again, each side will have 12 minutes. When you come to the podium, please state your name, address, and zip code for the record. Speaking in favor of this recommendation is Juan Marish and Shannon Tinsley.
Can I add to speak in favor?
Yeah, as long as there's time, you can come up after that. So we have Juan Marish first, and then Shannon Tinsley. If you could state your name, your podium's right here, Ms. Marish. You'll state your name, address, and zip code for the record, and let us know what you would like us to know about your petition.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Juan Mariche, and I am son of Martin and Martha Mariche, my wife Shannon Tinsley. We're the owners of 1200 East Clemensville Road, 27107. And we're requesting this rezoning to do a commissary kitchen more than anything. It's being recognized as a restaurant without drive-through, but in reality, nobody's gonna dine in. It's more of a legal kitchen more than anything, commissary kitchen. So I expect minimum traffic of anything. I don't see any other opposition. If anybody else has any other questions for me at the moment.
A commissary kitchen for
The food truck.
food truck?
Correct, yes, sir. And at the moment, it's only going to be servicing for one food truck, which is the family food truck that you guys might have seen on the pictures.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Mariche? All right, thank you.
Thank
How much
you.
time is left?
11 minutes, 15 seconds.
All right, we have 11 minutes left. Ms. Tinsley, if you would come up and state your name, address, and record for the zip code. And zip
Thank you,
code,
everybody.
please.
Thank you.
Record for the zip code. No, I said, I'm trying to correct myself. It was too late.
Hello, I'm Shannon Tinsley, also co-owners with Juan Mariche. We have 1200 East Clemensville Road, and I'm just going to read a letter that actually a friend gave me. She's a neighbor.
Excuse me, Ms. Tinsley, can you state your zip code as well?
Oh, 27107.
Thank you.
Thank you. So she got the planning board meeting and she couldn't be here today. She has a newborn, but she sent a letter with me. So, okay, it says, Dear City Council members, my name is Laura Gonzalez. I'm writing to express my strong support for Martin Mariche Garcia, Martha Ayala, and Shannon Manna Tinsley for their petition of 1200 East Clemensville Road. I believe this business is an excellent addition to our community. I believe this business will bring numerous benefits, including contributing to the city's tax revenue and enhancing the local economy. As a mother of 3 young children, I'm excited to have a restaurant a block away that I can walk to for dinner in the long days I cannot get around for cooking dinner. In addition, I love the business, and I know they have a strong commitment to progress with their business. They are all very responsible individuals, and I have never had any issues with them. They are always very welcoming and never cause any disturbance. Thank you for your time and consideration. I encourage you to support these individuals and their positive impact on Winston-Salem. If you have any questions or need further information, please feel free to contact me at, and her personal contact information. I'll be handing this over. Thank you. I'd also like to add, I live personally on this street at 2322 Peachtree Street. It's up on this block, so I'm a member of the community myself. So, thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Tinsley? Okay, how much time is left?
9.5.
We have 9.5 minutes if anyone else would like to speak in support. Again, state your name, address, and zip code for the record.
Hello, my name is Philip Summers. I live at 2422 Peachtree Street, 27107, so I got the letter. I'm in the zone. the green zone. I've lived in that house on Peachtree Street since 2010. When Juan and Shannon moved to our neighborhood, they rehabbed a house. They've had 2 kids. They're exactly the type neighbors we need. And when they thrive, our community thrives. Their food truck is delicious. I think, again, having been on that street for 15 years, I noticed one of your points was utilizing properties. I think for the 15 years we've been there, that's been a very vacant property. So we need people to breathe life into properties. I don't know if my neighborhood's, I don't want to speak in opposition of any of my neighbors. I'm just telling you that I am in that zone, and I have a more positive opinion of what might happen there. So I don't know that there's anything else I can add, but certainly in Walltown, we're very proud of our food trucks and our tacos, and I think this would be a great addition to what we got going on down there.
Any questions for Mr. Simmons? All right, thank you. How much time is left?
8.5 minutes.
8.5 minutes. If anyone else would like to speak in support. All right, we will now move to the opposition. Again, each side will have 12 minutes. I have Sharon, Diane Wright, Joyce BS, and Dr. Dennis Bishop.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sharon Diane Wright. I live at 2724 Ludwig Street, zip code 27107.
Thank you.
I'm upset about the 500 feet range of notifying people of the rezoning. I received the rezoning notice very late. I'm here because where the food truck is located on the corner of Clemensville Road and Peachtree, it's a one-way in and a one-way out street. The street is narrow, so when you have a food truck sitting there and you're trying to get out to Clemensville Road, you can't see. It's very, your vision plays tricks on you, so you can't see. So, and then you have a barber shop on the opposite side, and they're trying to get out of the barber shop, because this happened to me Saturday. I tried to get to Clemensville Road. I couldn't. I tried to turn around in the parking lot. I couldn't because they had tables and chairs there. So all I could do is just try to back out, let somebody else go, and then I try to move forward. So it is a hazard for the community. The people in the community bought their home for having a place to live and enjoy their senior life. Not to have it uprooted, not to have the noise, not to have the garbage, not have to have the smell, not to have the food truck there. My thing is, the food truck are asking for a rezoning for a commissary kitchen. A commissary kitchen can mean anything. You can start off with a restaurant. You can start off with some trucks. Next thing you know, you got 10 food trucks. Next thing you know, you got 2 more businesses there, 3 more businesses. It's a variety of things. So we, as the community, are asking that the rezoning board do not grant that rezoning, because this is our community. This is where we decided we was gonna purchase our home and make a living for ourselves, not to be able to be uprooted and have all type of people coming into the neighborhood that we absolutely do not know anything about. So with that, I end my conversation to the board. Is there any question?
Any questions for Ms. Wright? All right, thank you.
We've got 9.5 minutes.
9.5 minutes. Joyce BS.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joyce BS. I live at 2617 Peachtree, 27107.
Thank you.
I've been there for 40 years last month, and I absolutely love the place. And I intend to stay there till the end of my time. But I'm very upset over the fact that we have a food truck on the corner. We have smells, we have traffic, we have trash. And what I mean by trash, it's not the people that own the food truck, but it's the people buying from the food truck because it's located where it is. They don't pay any attention to the traffic signs. They stop and park in the middle of the side of the street. And especially box trucks and big trucks that people are getting off work and they're stopping to get food. I don't blame them for stopping and getting food, but they don't pull in the parking lot. They don't utilize it, and it's not that big, especially when you've got trucks sitting in there for sale and cars for sale. And you also have a beauty salon that's worked out of there, and those people are parking there when they come in to get their hair cut. And it's just not convenient for the people that live on the street. And the smells at night, when the food truck is still up there, are not pleasant. I have no problem with people trying to make money and earn money, but I think there's better ways to do it besides using such a small parking lot and people not utilizing it like it's supposed to be. I would be very upset if this is passed. And unfortunately, I am on a fixed income with a very ill husband, and I cannot afford to move because I have considered that. And I go out once a week and pick up trash from people that leave it because they don't have a way of putting it out anywhere except on the street. Any questions for me?
Any questions for Ms. Bowles? All right, thank you.
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Dr. Dennis Bishop.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and to the council. Dennis Bishop, 838 Moravia Street, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27107. I have a couple of concerns. I've gone to 2 prior meetings to coming here this afternoon. And then today I'm hearing food trucks. I didn't hear that in the 2 prior meetings that I attended. And I'm sitting wondering if I'm in the right meeting or the wrong meeting. I heard about a restaurant. We talked about buffers. We talked about the traffic. We talked about the trash and other things that would come along with the sellings of the restaurant. And I'm hearing today about a commissary kitchen. And I'm very much concerned about the people of that area, period. As you've heard about homeowners and people who have been there for many, many years. And while we are all for change, I'm certainly for change, but I think in changing, we have to consider everything and everybody. And when I hear of the people who have been in that area, I have pastored in that area for 42 years now. And a lot of our members live in that area, that we have walked through that neighborhood, Peachtree, Clemensville Road, other streets in that area. And while we have gone through there canvassing that community, feeding people, passing out tracts, witnessing and helping others, I'm concerned about their concerns. And I'm concerned about the property taxes. What will all of this do to the property taxes or the going up of the taxes? Concerned about the traffic that comes into that area. A little over 10 years ago, they came to our church and had a meeting and set up charts about the circle that's going to come in there, the traffic circle, so we know that that's already been taken care of. But when you talk about putting shops in that little area and the space that they're talking about doing it in, I'm very much concerned about the rezoning and the trafficking and taking residences and making it commercial. And so I think all things need to be considered on both ends and see what can be worked out, will be worked out, and consider those who have been there that have made that neighborhood what it is for all of these years. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions?
I'm just wondering if Mr. Bishop is speaking to 3651 on the docket with the traffic circle. Just just want to make sure we're hearing from the right case.
I think he might be signed up for both of them.
He
For
is
both
signed
of
up for both.
I got signed up.
Okay.
I got signed up, and everybody who saw me come in, that saw me at the meetings,
Okay.
expressed, and they signed me up. You know
Okay,
how they
that
throw us
explains
Baptist
it.
preachers in a whole lot of things and say, help us to swim, so we're here to help swim.
Okay, I appreciate the
I think I'm talking, sir? Well, I didn't come for that purpose, but I'll see you on the outside and I'll make Jesus plain to everybody. Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5 minutes remaining.
We have 5 minutes remaining.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
They told me I didn't have but a few minutes, and I may get a little longer when I talk. You know how Baptist preachers do, so let's stick to this meeting right now. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak in opposition? We have 5 minutes left. Yes, sir, if you would state your name, address, and zip code for the record.
John Connis, 5420 Stars Ferry Road, Clemens, North Carolina.
Hold on.
Your case is not up yet.
Yeah, but
He also owns a business over there,
Okay.
or did.
I ran a business on Walltown Street, not too far from this place, for 33 years. I was vice president of the Walltown Business Association for about 10 years. And we had most of the businesses along Walltown Street signed up for our group. We did a lot of good. We pressured the city of Winston-Salem to get the tire dumps out and all this other stuff. But as time went on, businesses closed down and left. I left it in 2012. Like I said, we was there for 33 years. When we met, we tried to work with the city. There was so much spot zoning on Walltown Street, Sprague Street, and it just kept going downhill and downhill, moving out residential people and moving in car lots and all this other stuff. What I want to tell you, if I was still in that position as vice president of the Walltown Business Association, we would be up here right now asking y'all not to do this, because we had seen what it did to the neighborhood and the residents. Now, I'm not here for them. I just thought I would put my 2 cents worth in when Walltown Business Association split up because we didn't have enough members anymore. All the businesses were closing. We had a little over almost $9,000 left in our kitty. And we voted and decided to give that to the city of Winston-Salem Police Department so they could buy a police dog. So we gave them almost $9,000. They call it the Walltown Street Police Dog now. And so we tried our best to help clean the neighborhood up, but we wasn't getting anything from the city. Now the tire dumps are back, and I don't know why. It looks. People call it the Wild Wild West out there on Walltown Street. Now, Walltown Street is right close to where we're talking about this place. When I was young, I went to school. It was Gray High School, the School of the Arts now. So I'm familiar with the neighborhood. I've been there a long time. But we, as a Walltown Business Association, we would be here against this for that area. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
2 minutes.
I have 2 minutes left if anyone else would like to speak in opposition. Okay, seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed.
Can we offer a rebuttal?
No, sir.
I have a question.
All right.
What are the limits? So like on numbers of trucks, were there any required parking spaces? I know it's an existing structure. There was a business that ran there for some period of time. So anyway.
This is one of those uses where, it's kind of hard to fit an exact category. The original speaker is correct. If you have a food truck and you have to have a kitchen, a commissary kitchen, we classify that as a restaurant without drive-through. Again, I don't know what their business model is. The use restaurant without drive-through, if approved, would be allowed in the NB district. Generally speaking, if you have a food truck and you have the use restaurant there and you're parked in your parking lot, you would be able to serve food out of that food truck. Again, I'm not sure if they set up there most of the time, if they go to other places. It's one of those things where the commissary kitchen in and of itself requires a use restaurant without drive-through, and then where they actually are serving from is kind of up to them.
And Mr. Lamb, to answer your question about the loading space or things of that nature, this structure is 1,276 square feet. The UDO doesn't require that small of a commercial structure to have a loading space. And this is also in Growth Management Area 2. There's a UDO provision that reuse of existing structures for restaurants in Growth Management Area 2 only have to retain existing parking, so they don't have to come up to current standards if they were to reuse the entire structure for a restaurant.
What are they doing that didn't allow them to do it in NBS?
The only use they have was was Services A.
Which are?
Beauty
salons,
nail salons,
those kind of things. I mean, Services A, there's a laundry list of uses, but that's when the property was rezoned in 1999, the only use they requested was Services A.
So what would happen in this case if you have a beauty salon, you have 3-4 chairs, so you're gonna have three or four cars. You have a food truck, what I'm hearing is they're parking up and down the road. How does that work? Are there any zoning regulations against that? How does?
No. They just can't eliminate existing parking.
And then since it is a private property and in business use, you can legally park a food truck there, right?
Correct.
And if you eliminate Services A, do you still retain the ability to have a commissary kitchen?
If you eliminate the use Services A, yeah, as long as you have the use restaurant without drive-through, yes.
Yeah.
I suspect the answer to this is going to be similar to Mr. Faraby's question about outdoor seating. There's no requirements for outdoor trash receptacles or anything like that, especially since it's not a...
That would just be considered like a nuisance abatement. Obviously, I mean, I think if it were me and I had heard that, I would make sure I had some trash receptacles out there. But there's not anything from a code perspective. There's city code requirements related to sanitation and
just be all complaint
trash and those kind of things. Correct.
Okay.
So if this were done without a food truck, you had a restaurant without the drive-through, would there be different requirements?
No.
So
No.
there could be.
It's such a small change between what's there and what's
It could be
they're
still a
asking.
high-density restaurant.
Yeah, and
on
every
the site.
neighborhood, not every neighborhood, but, over the course of time, neighborhoods deteriorate and then they revive. And one of the ways they revive is by attracting new small business and stuff like that. That's what makes it such a challenging thing to turn down for me, and from my perspective.
So, and what recourse does the community have to Mrs. Wright's concern about visibility? Is that reaching out to the Department of Transportation or?
Well, I mean, again, yes. I mean, but in looking at Google Street View, where the parking lot is for, again, for the parking lot and the building itself, there isn't a visibility issue. Now, if you have cars that are parked out there along the road in areas that they're not supposed to, you're not supposed to park within 20 feet of a curb, of a stop sign along the curb, those kind of things. Yeah, it would be Winston-Salem DOT is who those complaints would need to be lodged through.
And the thought on my mind doesn't have anything to do with what this board is here for, but from working with communities for a long, long time, I think all of you here today have a phenomenal opportunity not to create a new business.
Mr. Stillman, can you get to your mic? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yes. I think there's a great opportunity here for all of you to begin to work together as a neighborhood association and speak to each other and care for each other on an ongoing basis, with which probably 95% of these fears and concerns can be addressed.
Yeah, and I think the district neighborhood business is essentially created for this type of use where, you live close by, you can walk up or take a short trip, stop on the way home. And the building itself, considering it already has had these uses, it's not going to change much. And like we said, the change is really not a big flip of the coin. But I do think this is the opportunity. Everybody's comments are very valid about the issues, the concerns, you know, driving by, the traffic,
The on-street
trash,
parking.
all of that. And it would be the opportunity for the property owner to take all those concerns and, you know, be a good neighbor and find a way to work with your neighborhood, because you want to build their confidence, you know, their belief in you, customers as well, because the use itself, in my mind, it is appropriate for the property, but they need to work together to make sure that they are a good neighbor as a business.
Any other thoughts? Any other comments? Okay, anyone prepared to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with a comprehensive plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W 3648.
We have a motion by Mr. Lamb,
Second.
second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous. This would go before the city council. I think it's when neighbors come out and speak for this, what we look at is land use. And this is appropriate for the property. But I think your concerns are valid, and I would recommend that you talk to city council again on these issues.
Mr. Chairman, just a note for audience members, City Council will be taking the month of July off, so this will be going to the August City Council meeting.
Correct. You said exactly what I was getting ready to say.
This will be the third or fourth Monday, whatever the second meeting is. Sometimes it shifts.
Should be the third Monday in August. Mr. Chairman, board, with that, we're ready to move on to case B5, and we'll hear from Dan Roberts on this case.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here to discuss case W-3651. The petitioner is 12 Star Express Incorporated. The site is 4.5 acres located at the northeast intersection of Thomasville Road and East Clemensville Road. And they are requesting a special use district rezoning from RS9 to pedestrian business special use with a variety of non-residential and multifamily uses. Here's the location map. It is located in Growth Management Area 2 in the Southeast Ward. The subject property is surrounded by single-family homes on all sides in RS. You can see that there's a structure on this map. It was a convenience store of fuel pumps that had existed on the site, but has been since removed by NCDOT as part of the intersection improvements within the Thomasville-Clemensville I-40 interchange improvement project. So to the NCDOT initiated project. As I mentioned, the existing structure shown in this aerial is no longer there. The northern portion of the site is wooded and has been undergoing a clearing process to remove trees, install appropriate infrastructure such as pipes, and perform grading. Again, these improvements are related to the NCDOT improvement project. Here is the area plan. It's in the southeast Winston-Salem area plan update. That particular plan calls for mixed use on this parcel. And here are some photos. This is looking northeast on East Clemensville Road. The subject property is to the left. This is looking southwest on East Clemensville Road. Subject property is on the right. This is looking west from East Clemensville Road. The subject property is in view, so we're looking across towards Thomasville. This is the opposite side, so this is looking east from Thomasville, subject property in view, looking towards East Clemensville. And this is looking northwest on Thomasville Road. The subject property is on the right. And this is looking northeast across Thomasville Road. So I'm on the opposite side of Thomasville Road looking into the subject property. This is the northwest corner of the property. We're kind of mid. Glencoe Street is right where I'm standing. So here is the site plan. I've highlighted a few things, zoomed in. This is just the full site plan, but I'll go into a little bit more detail in just a moment. Again, this is a little bit more of a zoomed in view of the site plan. I've highlighted these 7 buildings that are to be included, totaling about 29,450 square feet. Includes a mix of uses such as the convenience store with fuel pumps in a small shopping center format with parking to the interior of the site. There will be 2 access points. I'll go into the turn lanes in just a moment, but you can see one on East Clemensville Road and then one on Thomasville Road. So if you can see the arrows that indicate the turning access, on Thomasville Road, it is full access, so you're able to make a right, come in straight, and then you could go straight on Glencoe or make a left. And then per the NCDOT roundabout project, it's right in, right out only on East Clemensville Road. So to summarize, this request is generally consistent with the Forward 2045 and the Southeast Winston-Salem Area Plan update, and the NCDOT roadway improvements at this location will increase vehicular capacity and improve traffic flow, allowing for more intense development. And this request would encourage development of an underutilized site and provide additional walkable commercial development in an area without current services. The site plan meets UDO requirements and staff recommends approval. Happy to take any questions.
Is there a timeline on the DOT project?
We do have a representative of DOT here that may be able to answer that a little more clearly.
Okay.
Any other questions for me?
Staff? All right, thank you. We will have a public hearing on this case as well. Again, as a reminder, each side will have a total 12 minutes. Speaking in support is Scott Miller and Abdul, I don't want to butcher your last name out of respect. Thank you. All right, so if Mr. Miller, if you would come to the podium, state your name, address, and zip code for the record, and let us know what you'd like us to know about the case.
Thank you, Chairman, board members. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm Scott Miller, president of MLA Design Group. We're located at 5603 Hunley Road, Winston-Salem 27106. We are the land planners and landscape architects that are working with Mr. Qureshi on this property. I think Mr. Roberts did a good job kind of explaining kind of the background and history, but just to add to that just a little bit, the reason that we're here today is primarily because Mr. Qureshi's convenience store that was located at the corner of Thomasville and East Clemensville Road was basically taken with the right-of-way work, as you've probably seen in your packet, that DOT is doing the new roundabout, which is a good thing, but unfortunately, the amount of right-of-way that was needed took his business that he and his family have been operating for a number of years on the property. As mentioned earlier, it's 4.5 acres of property in which he sat on there at the corner, and the current zoning does not allow for him to continue his use. It's not currently an allowed use, even though it was a pre-existing use in that zoning. His desire is to remain in the community. His desire was not to leave. And quite frankly, he was compensated for his right-of-way and for the taking of his business, but he could have taken that and invested that somewhere else, but he has chosen to reinvest that into this community and be able to continue to serve the clients and the folks in that community as he has for the last number of years. So that's the primary reason that we're here today. we made an attempt at this particular juncture in the process to try to utilize his entire property and do a comprehensive plan, as opposed to just taking a small piece and reestablishing his convenience store and letting the rest, piecemeal out as the future holds. So we worked with staff. We've had our neighborhood meetings. We've tried to meet with DOT and do all the right things. He paid for a transportation impact analysis to make sure that the traffic concerns were addressed. Actually, that TIA came back very positive in terms of the minimal impact it would have on the traffic. However, NCDOT still had some concerns about multiple access points and was requesting a right turn lane and a left turn lane in, and also City of Winston-Salem DOT was requesting a right in, right out only of Clemensville. All of those things we complied with. We reduced our entry numbers from 3 down to 2. We've done the right turn in and the left turn in off Thomasville at considerable expense to Mr. Qureshi. And we have limited to a right in, right out on Clemensville Road. Not to mention the fact that we have controlled access between those two access points. In other words, there can be no additional access per NCDOT. That's all controlled access. So that, and we've added the 40-foot buffers next to any of the residential properties. We're trying to be good neighbors in the design of how we've configured things, tried to meet pedestrian walkability, adding the sidewalks and the connection. So this can be truly a community project. And so so that's basically what we wanted you to know, in addition to the things that you read in your packet. I'm certainly here if you have any further questions of me, either now or later. That's fine. And Mr. Qureshi is also here. He and his family own the business, like I mentioned, and they'll be happy to answer any questions you have as well.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any questions for Mr. Miller?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. How much time is left?
7.5.
Mr. Qureshi, would you like to if you state your name, address, and zip code for the record, please?
Hello, everybody. Good evening. And my name is Abdullah Qureshi, and I live in Summerfield, North Carolina. And I bought this place like almost several years ago.
Your zip code, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Zip code?
27358.
Thank you.
And we two family was living on it and making decent living. Then we want to develop back, and we'll put a good light and everything. If we don't develop it, and that will be, dead area, no light, nothing, and that will be all tree and everything. Then I hope will be good for the, community, and we help everybody out to provide everything what we can, like for convenience store juices and gas, and provide the cheapest gas in the town too. All right, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
7 minutes remaining.
Anyone else would like to speak in support? Again, if you don't mind stating your name, address, and zip code for the record.
Philip Summers, 2422 Peachtree Street, 27107. I remember when he bought the store, he did improve it. It used to be called the Milk Bread Cheese Store, and he renamed it and put some more lights there. I am speaking in favor of developing Walltown. I don't know the particulars in this case. I don't like speaking against Dr. Dennis Bishop because that's a man of God, and if he speaks against it, I'm probably against it, except for the fact that we need to do something in Walltown. I think Mr. Qureshi said it's dark. There's a lot of shady stuff happening in our neighborhood, and so when you have like all those trees, I don't even know what's going on back there. And so I'd probably be in favor more of having a business use for it than it just sitting fallow. I probably would rather it be a park, but we do want enterprise. And we're in an interesting space between being a town and a city. And so if we're going to kind of embrace the city idea, we're going to have to let people develop our city. So that's the only reason I wanted to stand up and speak for, because you have people wanting to invest and turn us into a city. It's easy to be against things, but we are in need of investment in Walltown. I'm also in the green area. So that's the only reason I just said I'm glad to see when people are investing in Walltown.
Thank you, Mr. Summer.
5.5 minutes remaining.
Would anyone else like to speak in support? All right, we will now move to opposition. We have Sharon Wright, Joyce Bowles, and Dr. Dennis Bishop.
My name again is Sharon Diane Wright. I own my home at 2724 Ludwig Street, zip code 27107. The roundabout would take place because the state want our street in America to look like streets in Europe. With the new changes being made, it comes with no street signs. It bothers me that no architect took the time to notice that the street on the right of Clemensville Road towards Sprague Street has one way in and one way out. Some people would say we are in a box, and I really don't like that phrase. I live in a home in a community. Sometimes it could take us 5 to 10 minutes to pull onto Clemensville Road. We just can't see what is coming on the right side of Clemensville Road towards Thomasville Road. When coming out of Ludwig Street, sometimes we must turn to our right, which is out of our way. I feel there has been no consideration about the community. In lieu of the present economy, how is a shopping center going to improve our community? Almost all shopping centers in this area has closed, and this one will follow suit. If the rezoning is granted, this is a community. Why would you change the culture of our community and not yours? Why do you care? Why don't you care? That is the question. Why don't you care? In closing, I'd like to note, I have been here all my life. It breaks my heart that most of the decision made for Winston is being made by those that has no vested interest in the community. They were not born or raised here, but feel it's necessary to come in, change our custom, redistrict our community, and literally change the whole face of our beloved town. This is not progress, but rather greed, insensitive, and callousness behavior on the part of this committee. Any question?
No, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Thank you.
How much time is left?
9.5 minutes.
Good evening again. I'm Joyce Bowles. I live at 2617 Peachtree Street, 27107. And I just don't really know what to say about all this. I'm not real happy about it because I think it's going to be a very bad traffic situation with the roundabout being right there where they are planning to put this. I don't like the fact they're taking down all the trees. We've got raccoons and possums and squirrels coming out from everywhere because they're losing their habitat. And the traffic concerns there's so many school buses during the school season that go up and down that road. I'm just very concerned about it. Plus, not knowing exactly what he's going to put in there. Are we going to have security? Is there going to be guards? Is there going to be robberies? There was a lot of transit people that were begging for money from his prior place. It's not his fault, but there was no security after dark. And I'm just not happy about it. And that's all I can say. And thank you. Any questions?
8.5 minutes.
Any questions? All right. Dr. Bishop, if you state your name, address, and zip code again for the record.
Dennis Bishop, 838 Moraga Street, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27107. Thank you for allowing me to come back to this mic. Now that we're on the same page, I can give my time to somebody else who may want to speak, because I would only be repetitive in the things that I have said. And so I will bow out gracefully on the comments that I made before on this issue right now. I still have those same concerns. They have not changed over the last few minutes. And while we are for change, as I stated in both of the prior meetings to Mr. Kresh and others, while we are for change, we supported the store when he bought it. We've gone around there and supported our youth, young people, we've supported. And he and I, listen, friends, we greet each other, we love each other, we appreciate each other. And while we are for change in that neighborhood, my concerns remain the same as far as the things I spoke earlier. So I'll bow out gracefully. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. How much time is left?
7.5 minutes.
We have 7.5 minutes left for anyone who would like to speak in opposition. If you would state your name, address, and zip code for the record.
Thank you, Council. My name is James Cochran, live at 2716 Sink Street, 27107. I've been a homeowner on Sink Street since 1971. Right now, with the traffic circle coming in, and with the planning on the store, with the entrances, you can't. That entrance on Clemensville Road is going to create such a traffic situation trying to get out. Sometimes, as has been spoken, sometimes we sit there 5 to 10 minutes trying to pull out of Sink Street into Clemensville Road. Clemensville Road is a 2-lane road, and especially with the school buses. But I have even turned right and went up, a couple blocks and then come back around. So I'm totally against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cochran. Any questions for Mr. Cochran? Okay, how much time is left?
6.5 minutes.
6.5 minutes. If you would state your name, address, and zip code for the record.
My name is Jerry Wagner. I live on Glencoe Street. Zip code is 27107. And I just want to say that I'm for change too. But living on Glencoe and with one of the entrance coming directly from my street, when I get to the end of the street and want to go out, then I got to deal with the traffic coming from 109 Thomasville Road. It's no way there's not going to be a traffic problem. And it's just got to be another way in or out that us living. I've been living there since 1968. And I had no problems. And I spent my money at the store all the time too. And I don't mind the store being there, but you just got to think about us older people that's been there, can't afford to move, and all this traffic and different people coming up and down the street that we can't handle. And that's my concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Any questions for Ms. Wagner? All right. 5.5 minutes left. Would anybody else like to speak in opposition? All right, seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. I think we had someone here from NCDOT, is that correct?
We actually have Alex Stone from Winston-Salem DOT.
Okay, can he address some of the concerns that we've heard today, if you don't mind? If possible.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I could, I mean, again, he definitely can address the question that was asked earlier. I do want to make one thing clear, just so everyone knows. I mean, again, as it was discussed in the staff report, the roundabout the approaches to the roundabout, the work that is going on at the Clemensville Road, Thomasville Road intersection, the changes that are going to be taking place at the interchange with I-40, all those things are NCDOT projects which are going to be done independent of this project. Again, just want to make sure that that's on the record. And with that, I'll turn it over to Al.
So the TIA analysis that was conducted as part of this development was reviewed by both NCDOT and Winston-Salem DOT just to see what the impacts are going to be with the existing STIP project I-5880, which includes a roundabout, but not only the roundabout, that project includes closing the ramps for I-40 on Clemensville Road as well. And so there will only be one access point to I-40 on Thomasville Road. A lot of that was done as a STIP project to, one, help with some of the congestion issue and mainly a traffic safety issue. There's a large amount of vehicle collisions that occur at that traffic signal there at those ramps. And so that's what that project was mainly, like I said, it was an independent project done for some of those issues. Now, whenever this development came through review, a big part of that was we want to make sure that any site access was going to be coordinated with the plans for the traffic signal that were already developed by NCDOT for this intersection of Clemensville and Thomasville Road. A big part of that project is to increase the lane capacity and the traffic safety of the intersection there with the roundabout to reduce conflict points. A big part of that, too, is just the intersection also of Clemensville and Thomasville Road had some also safety issues as well with the traffic signal there and sight distance issues. Like we said before, the access point on Clemensville Road is going to be restricted to a right-in, right-out only. Vehicles will not be allowed to turn left out of this development onto Clemensville Road to reduce any kind of conflict points from that connection, how close the proximity is going to be to Clemensville and Thomasville Road. And then because the connection point on Thomasville is a little further away from the intersection, that is going to be allowed to be a full access connection.
Any questions to that answer?
A quick question. Would some of the traffic concerns we've been hearing from the community there be improved in general? Is that not the purpose of a lot of the work that's being done?
And so, yeah, the build date is a little fair. And I need to confirm probably with NCDOT and what the full build-out date is going to be of that project, the I-5880 project. But yeah, so traffic in that region is going to probably drastically shift anyways whenever the ramps from I-40 onto Clemensville Road are closed. So that is definitely going to probably greatly impact the traffic we see there today.
You mean increase the traffic?
Probably decrease. Well, it's going to change the traffic. It's hard to say what, the projections versus what's going to be projected versus what's actually going to happen, but it will probably shift what the actual traffic is going to be.
Okay. Any questions for?
Oh, I was just wondering, now I know it is NCDOT, not Winston-Salem DOT, but do you know what the general timeline of that project is?
Again, I probably need to check with NCDOT on what that is. I know they had the interim build year being 2030. Sometimes some of those projects the timeline can shift a little bit, but we can definitely check in with NCDOT on that and get you an answer back on that.
Thank you.
So with that information, could, and let me get my thoughts straight. Could I ask if the traffic impact study for the project itself did or did not take the NCDOT project into consideration as happening simultaneously?
It did.
Okay, I just wanted that for clarification. Thank you.
So just to address Ms. Wright's concerns that she raised in her last comments, communities change. I think that's been one of the themes of both of these Walltown cases. My dad grew up on Walltown Street near its intersection with Butler Street, back when Butler Street was where the city limits were. And he grew up on what was at the time my family's farm that had been established in the 1860s. Walltown has a really rich history if you research it, to the point that it was almost thought of its own city. You would see things addressed Walltown, North Carolina. He regaled me with stories of going to Spud Norton's filling station. There's always been a commercial component to that part of our community. Obviously, in the last 75 years, that that community has changed multiple times. It will continue to change. All communities do. I think it's short-sighted to sit up here and accuse a group of people who were volunteering their time of not knowing about the community, because sometimes we know a lot more about the community than you realize. So.
I would add that I grew up in a community similar to Walltown here in Winston-Salem. And I have the fondest memories of walking to a neighborhood store, to a grocery store, to a barber shop, to a church. I wish the planning profession in America could bring that back. And I'll just also say that I absolutely trust the design work that's been done by NCDOT and by MLA Designs. I would say to the neighborhood residents, you're in incredibly good hands.
Now, sometimes the hardest part of being on the planning board is hearing neighbors that are very passionate about their neighborhood and their community. That's hard, and it's hard to see change come, whether it's Walltown Street or whether it's going out and taking 30 acres out from someone and they're used to seeing deer run and possums. But unfortunately and fortunately, change is going to occur. And so what our job is as a planning board is to look and see first, does it fit? Does it make sense? Is it in line with what the planning and zoning rules are? And that's hard, because sometimes sitting here, you're looking at friends and family and parishioners, and it's a hard decision. But when you take that out, we have to look at the recommendation from the planning staff and how all of this fits together. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's not that we're looking at this with a blind eye and just trying to uproot long-standing communities. That's definitely not our place nor our job to do. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I've moved that in case W3651, the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
I have a motion by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that the planning board recommend approval of case W3651.
I have a motion by Mr. Grubbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stillman. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous. Again, this will go before City Council
In August.
in August. If you all would like to leave the chamber, we'll give everyone a second to get out before we move on to, out of respect, to the next case. All right, looks like the chamber has, we've given people time, so we're now going to move forward to our next case.
Mr. Chairman, we'll now hear from Ellie, who will give us the staff report on F-1661.
Good afternoon, everybody. So case F-1661, the petitioner Impulse Energy, LLC, and Impulse Energy II, LLC, which is Legacy Traditional School, Clemens. The site is approximately 19.37 acres located west of Louisville Clemens Road and Holder Road intersection. The request is a special use district rezoning from RS30 to IPS and HBS two-phase and a special intense development. What does the A stand? Allocation, excuse me for that, CETA. The site is located in GMA 3, Growth Management Area 3 suburban neighborhoods. The subject property abuts RS30 with undeveloped land and single-family homes to the north and south. However, to the east along Louisville-Clements Road, there are various commercial uses that reflect the non-residential zoning pattern being requested for this site. Both parcels gently slope from the east to the west, with Blanket Bottom Creek delineating the western boundary line. The front half of the southern portion of the site is predominantly cleared, whereas the remaining area is densely forested. The northern parcel is heavily wooded with an intermittent stream running along the northern property line. The property is within the study area of the Clemens Community Compass 2040 Comprehensive Plan. However, it's important to note that this plan was not adopted by Forsyth County. As such, parcel-specific recommendations do not exist for this site. However, this site is both within an activity center and located along a growth corridor in which Legacy 2030 aims to concentrate development within the serviceable land area of Forsyth County with the highest densities at activity centers and along growth corridors as this site is. So this is photos looking north along Louisville-Clements Road. The subject property is to the left. This is looking south along Louisville-Clements Road. The subject property is to the right, looking directly into the subject property from Louisville-Clements Road. Looking across Louisville-Clements Road from the subject property at a commercial use property. So this is the proposed site plan. So the site plan shows 6 one-story institutional buildings with a gross floor area of 75,864 square feet that will be used for a charter school. The proposed site plan would include a westward extension of Holder Road right here to facilitate future access to the site and land north of the site should further commercial development occur on the adjacent properties. The intended land uses are high traffic generating uses. However, Louisville-Clements Road can handle the anticipated traffic volume. The proposed road improvements in the TIA address current needs while also considering future development of the site, with the focus on improving road infrastructure, managing increased traffic, and enhancing pedestrian accessibility. These are the proposed building elevations depicting a residentially compatible school building. Lastly, this is going to go over the CETA components of the case. However, that is going to be voted on by the county commissioners. However, we'll still go over the different comments. So this site is located within the balance of the Winston-Salem Yadkinville River water supply watershed. The built-upon area within the balance of the watershed is limited to 24% with a stormwater management device, unless CETA allocation is granted by the county commissioners. The site developer is proposing a built-upon area of 39.4% and as such requesting CETA. So the different criteria for CETA approval, the first one is the site in compliance with Legacy 2030. Staff says that the request is consistent with the recommendation of Legacy 2030 for the area to be used for high-intensity development as it is located along a growth corridor and within an activity center. The second one is the proposed project land use and site design are compatible with the general character of the area. So the land uses and site design are consistent with the commercial development pattern along Louisville-Clements Road, east of the subject property. Considering the recommendations of Legacy 2030, the request is compatible as the site plan incorporates thoughtful design elements that support and complement the surrounding neighborhood character. The third is, does the proposed project bring economic benefits to the area, including tax base and jobs? So the HBS development will add approximately $4.5 million to the county tax base with an estimated 35 new jobs. The timeline for the development of the HBS portion of the site is 24 to 36 months. For the IPS property, the proposed school will be exempt from property taxes, although an estimated 110 new jobs are expected. Once the school is at full enrollment, the school has a target opening date of fall 2026. Fourth, the subject property will be served partially by public private water and sewer service. This project does not pose a threat to the environment, especially water quality. Lastly, the proposed project has good transportation access, including proximity to major roads and/or rail lines. So the site is located close to the US 421 interchange of Louisville Clemens Road / Stiers Ferry Road. The site also has extensive frontage along a boulevard, Louisville Clemens Road. So, in summary, Legacy 2030 recommends high-intensity development along growth corridors and within activity centers as the subject property is. In addition, the proposed site has excellent transportation access to US 421 and will provide a future public street connection to Stiers Ferry Road. Lastly, the project will add an estimated $4.5 million to the local tax base and would create an estimated 145 jobs in the community in accordance with CETA recommendations. Also, this request would mirror the commercial development pattern that already exists on the east side of Louisville Clemens Road. For these reasons, staff recommends approval, and the site plan does meet UDO requirements. Does the board have any questions?
One question about one of the comments you made. Is the school not nonprofit? Is that how it is adding to the tax base?
The school in and of itself is not added to the tax base.
Just retail out front.
Oh, the retail.
Correct, but the school as a charter school would be tax exempt, similar to any other school. We consider it a private school, but it still has a tax exempt status.
Okay, the retail portion.
The $4.5 million is the retail portion.
Okay,
correct.
I got it now.
Yeah, if you read right there, it's a little. Read the third sentence. For the IPS property, the proposed school will be exempt from property taxes. And again,
Gotcha.
So the CETA component, so we are not making a recommendation on whether or not this is sort of the best and highest use for that.
Correct. That's ultimately a decision by the county commissioners. We don't even make the planning board doesn't even make a recommendation on the CETA. It's just the land. It's just the
land
rezoning.
use, so
Correct.
Out of curiosity, if it was just the IP portion or just the school, does that trigger the CETA terms for consideration, or is it just the grouping of the first and second phase as a comprehensive parcel?
It's basically if the terms that Ellie mentioned about the watershed development, if they're exceeded the 24% development in the watershed, I couldn't tell you how much of the site is taken up by each component, but it's the fact that they're doing 39 point something percent is what they're proposing, and so that's why they need CETA.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask that same question, I think. If the project were all 100% nonprofit, would CETA be applicable?
You could apply for it. I don't know how well it would fit with the considerations that the county would consider. Again, you've got, it's hard when you're looking just straight at tax value. I mean, obviously you have the jobs and things that come along with the construction of the school in and of itself. And then you have the end jobs. Again, it wasn't provided tax base, but you have theoretically 145 total jobs that would be contributed through direct employment there, then the indirect employment with the jobs related to the construction of it. Again, you've got the $4.5 million of commercial development that would be taxable. Again, but they have to consider all that in a vacuum. To answer your question, I think if it were just the schools, it would be a harder sell to issue the CETA, and that's one of the things we had kind of talked about initially is, if it was just the school, would that be problematic? And it probably would be, but ultimately that would be a decision by the commissioners.
Right. And then how much CETA, how much acreage?
It equals the entire acreage of the site, and for this case, what's the total acreage?
30 acres.
20 acres, 19 acres. I don't have it in front of me.
19.37. However, this is the first time for this specific watershed that any acres will be taken away.
Right. And again, I for some reason, I want to say 605 acres or something is the bank. And again, keep in mind when we've had these discussions in the past, you've got this checking account and the savings account. So they've got 605 in the checking account they've never used any of, and they still have the savings account in reserve for the same amount of acreage. So again, this would be 19 to 20 acres that would come out of that bank.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I see you. We're getting ready to go into a public hearing, so you could then speak on behalf of that. Any other questions for staff?
One more. You probably said it, but I was trying to digest everything. We know the 24% is the CETA threshold, and this is 39, right? 39%. It says ultimate build-out, so that includes the commercial in the 39%.
That's correct, Mr. Farabee. Again, it includes all impervious surfaces related to parking structures, sports courts, et cetera.
Okay.
If you grant the CETA, you can have up to 70%. So that's where they would be able to put in the impervious on the HB section.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, so we are going into a public hearing now. Again, each side will have a total of 12 minutes. We don't have anyone signed up in support. So if anyone is in support of this and would like to speak, please come to the podium and state your name, address, and zip code for the record.
Good evening, Chairman Leake, members of the board. My name is Jason Opp. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate Development working on this project on behalf of Legacy Traditional Schools, North Carolina. For the record, my address is 3125 South Gilbert Road, Chandler, Arizona, 85286.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'll keep my comments very brief in light of Ellie's terrific summary that she delivered. I would like to start by just giving a short introduction to Legacy Traditional Schools. We opened our first campus in the Phoenix metropolitan area in 2007. So we've been in business a long time. We have 27,000 students in 20 campuses across the western United States today. And we're presently growing into both North and South Carolina. As a charter school here under the UDO, we're classified as a school, private, but we are funded by the public, and we do not have any tuition that is charged to our students or our families. It's an open enrollment charter school, so any student in Forsyth or Daviess counties could come to this campus and receive a free education. In the event that we're oversubscribed, then we have a lottery that would address how we would admit students above the 1,200 student cap that exists today. This is a one-step zoning for the school for the IP-S portion, and so we've included a lot of detail here on our site plan. I'm sure you're familiar with the two-step process as it relates to the HB-S parcels. The zoning could be approved by the Forsyth County Commission subsequent to this meeting, but they will come back for a thorough site plan review as those parcels are developed. As stated before, the total acreage for the parcel is just under 19.4 acres, of which 14.7 would be the school. So we are a majority of this parcel. And Ellie did a great job of laying out how these uses complement each other and the environment around us. I will say that having 20 campuses and 27,000 students, we're very familiar with how our campuses operate from a vehicular standpoint. We place a great emphasis on being good neighbors. You'll see a large number of our staff members out in the parking lot when the students arrive or when they depart to make sure that our students are kept safe, the cars flow efficiently through the site, leave and arrive without disturbing the environment around us. So we place a high premium on that. One of my notes suggests that there's 685 acres in this region of the SIDA, the Yadkin River Idles Dam area, and that none of those acres have been identified or used prior to now. I think it was very forward-thinking that when the Watershed Protection Act strengthened protections for the water quality, that they also allowed a mechanism to review exceptions to that restriction that was created. And it's also worth noting that upon conclusion, we'll be creating very significant stormwater protection improvements that will meter the same volume of stormwater out of the property as exists today, and we'll also have water quality assurances that are in place. So it will be much the same as today or even better. And finally, I'll say that we spent a significant amount of time working with NCDOT, who has control of the Louisville-Clemens right-of-way. We are working on a plan that would improve traffic flow through the neighborhood. If you've been through there today, there's a public school, to the east of us off Holder Road. Traffic stacks up there significantly during arrival and departure times, and the steps that are being contemplated would improve traffic throughput for that school as well. Before I ask if you have any questions, I would like to say that I've got an army of advisors here today that are more technical and smarter than I am. And so if you'll indulge me, if you ask a specific question, I may ask one of those people to comment. But that said, I appreciate your time this evening, and I'd love to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, how will do you see the map? Do you see the site plan or the map?
Yes, sir.
How would how do drop-offs and pickups occur at that site?
So we have two 150-foot-long pickup and drop-off areas. As you're looking at the map, you can see one on the south side of the site. It's where the curbs flare out. And then you can see another pickup and drop-off area on the east side of the buildings. In total, we have about 5,700 feet of stacking to pull all those cars.
5,700 feet of stacking?
Okay. Yes, sir. Over a mile of linear feet of stacking.
That's all.
Yes, sir.
So you expect that people would drop off, would come into that southern entrance and then go around. That's why it's so long. Am I correct?
We have a very intricate procedure that we use. We usually have 3 dismissal times. Dismissal is when it's a little bit lengthier of a process. We have to reunite a student with their parent. And so we typically release 3 grade levels at a time with 20 minutes of separation between those release times. And we'll take 2 of those grade levels and direct those parents around the back in that more lengthy queuing area. And then 1 of the grade levels up front. It helps us to be more efficient in how we reunite parents and children. And we have a computer app that assists us through that process. So the students will stay in their classroom until their parent comes to the campus. At that time, there's an alert that's issued in the classrooms. The students directed out, and we usually get them out there at the same time their mom or dad arrives at the curb.
Interesting. We need to hook you up with the public school system development.
They're getting better. They're getting better.
I know.
So obviously, coming from Arizona, it's a different animal. Do you really see the student population growing as much? Because I remember like Mesa, all of the high schools were over 3,000 students, even though it was only 10 through 12. And obviously, they were building like high school every 5 years. Do we have that same amount of growth that you guys are used to in the West Coast to kind of be able to accommodate this growth that you see here?
Sir, our market studies have concluded that while you don't have that significant rate of growth, there are very few charter school opportunities for parents, especially in western Forsyth County today. There is a relatively small arts charter school downtown. There are several charter schools on the east side of Forsyth County. So today, within 5 miles of the site, for example, there are no charter school opportunities for families and students. So we believe that by entering this market, even though it's not growing at a rapid clip as some of the other markets we operate in, there will be substantial interest, and we've seen that already. We have close to 1,000 children on an interest list for this school already.
Any additional questions? If you don't mind, could you spell your last name for me?
Oh, yes, sir. It's Ottman. It's Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Ottman. Thank you.
Chairman, we still have 8 minutes left. Okay. Public hearing.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Ottman? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Lee.
We have 8 minutes left. Would anyone else like to speak in support? No, I have you, Mr. Contos.
I really wasn't going to say anything, but my name is Valerie Oxendine. I've been at 5430 Stars Ferry Road for, this November would be 40 years. And I retired from public health. I actually did school nursing. I was the school nurse down at Southwest, filled in for West and everything like that. I've been in the schoolrooms and, talked with the teachers, and I am 100% supported of this school coming. And all my children, I've got 3 children that graduated from West and graduating the grandson at Southwest. And yes, it is needed. Southwest is an elementary school, and it was built in 1954, and we're going to have to probably replace it. We've added the middle school down over there near 40 in the roundabout. Yes, it's totally 100% full. I am hearing all of my neighbors and all of the coalitions around us that is totally 100% supporting the school. But, like the retail in front, it might be a little bit different from the Sheetz and the McDonald's, but I 100% support the school. Any questions?
Thank you.
6.5 minutes remaining.
6.5 minutes remaining. If anyone else would like to speak in support. All right, we will now move to opposition. Mr. Contos, if you will state your name, address, and zip code for the record again.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'm going to pass these photos around that Mr. Contos left with us and wanted us to pass them around. He understands that we'll have to keep them as an exhibit.
Okay.
John Connors, 5420 Stars Ferry Road, Clemens, North Carolina, 27012, a resident here for 60 years. What I know about Blanket Bottom Creek and Valley along it. Creek backs up and a hurricane comes up from the Gulf of Mexico carrying large amounts of water, flooding lowlands of South Carolina and closing all roads from Georgetown, South Carolina, almost to Atlanta, Georgia. All roads, all bridges, Interstate 95, Interstate 77, all roads. For stopping over the Yadkin Valley floodplain, this hurricane for 3 days and nights, pouring rain nonstop. Dams on Yadkin River closed, backing up water into the Yadkin River floodplain. Blanket Bottom Creek is in this floodplain. The creek backed up almost to Highway 421. The creek, Stars Ferry Road is the start of a large funnel that feeds this creek. Shopping centers, parking lot, roads feed the funnel, adding to the backing up water from the floodplain into the creek, causing a large lake over Stars Ferry Road, high up on the sides of the valley, closing the road. When the dam opened up 3 days later, letting all the water flow again, the large lake over Stars Ferry Road was very deep and wide. It began to flow very fast down the creek. Tons of water backing up in the creek, tearing out Stars Ferry Road, 40 foot across the roadway, washing it out very deep as it left. All the other roads of the creek were washed out all along until it reached the Yadkin River. Reaching Laster Lakes and tearing out the roadway over the dam, a very wide tear out, 200 foot across the roadway, letting loose very strong white water, looking like the Colorado River. A new dam and steel bridge sits on the lake now. I saw it, I was there. So was about 100 other people there. You say, well, how often will this Wright hurricane come through the Yadkin Valley and sit right over it pouring rain? Yes, they are already coming much more each year, taking almost the same path to Asheville or to the Yadkin floodplain. Global warming, I'm sure you have heard about it by now. Pay attention, it's here, not maybe, coming up over South and North Carolina, just like Asheville got hit last year. Before rezoning, let the Army Corps of Engineers evaluate the land for high-density building. This was done on the property next to the site when they tried to zone it for high density. They found a lot of problems there. Let the rezone the 2 lots at the road now. This is what the owners want the most. That's the money right there. Think hard. Where 1,600 young kids will attend the school. A few days ago, the news on TV stated that the Forsyth County school system has too many K through 8th grade classrooms. They are going to close some next school year. Do we really need another K through 8th grade here now? I learned about the backfill on this property, slope from the man who used his dump truck to haul in load after load for 5 years, along with the man who owned the land. They dumped everything in the landfill. No load was turned away. The owner wanted it filled as soon as possible. Anyone who bought a load dumped it. No questions asked. Wood, trash, tree limbs, stumps, logs, any and everything hauled in to fill the slope. Then when it was about level, a topping of dirt. There's too many problems with this proposal. 1,600 young kids. Do you really think this is the right place for them? Thank you for listening to this, and any questions, please ask me.
Any questions for Mr. Contis? Thank you, sir.
7.5 minutes remaining.
We have 7.5 minutes remaining. If anyone else would like to speak in opposition.
Should I speak some more about traffic?
You have 7.5 minutes. Yes, sir.
I brought some photos of traffic. That's the during school let out and going to school in the morning and letting out in the afternoon. There's 3 schools right across the street from this thing. There's going to put a stoplight there, and there's already 3 or 4 stoplights before you get there. If this amount of traffic is turned out on Louisville Clemens Road, being so close to Highway 421, it's going to back the traffic up real bad, whether it's going east or going north or south. It will choke that intersection. They'll be backed up down the ramps. They won't be able to get out. They won't be able to get in. You can see the pictures. It backs up miles down the road towards downtown Clemens. People everybody wants to come at the same time. You say, well, we're going to let the people come at certain times of the get-out period. They're going to come when they have to come to let the kids off so they can get to work. They can't wait. They got to let them off and get to work. Everybody's going to be wanting to come at the same time. Same way in the afternoon. They want to get them and get them fast. So everybody's going to come at the same time. Trust me. The engineering department of the Army Corps of Engineers needs to go in this property and look at the water runoff sites that's on it now. They call them existing runoff water sites. They're real strict about this stuff. And if the property next door was the Vogler property, was going to put 300 some apartments over there. The Army Corps of Engineers took the map like this and tore it all apart. They lost townhouses. They lost 2 of the apartment buildings. They had to put 3 or 4 more water holding tanks in there until it got so they just lost interest in it, and saying Clemens didn't like it anyway because they know what Blanket Bottom Creek can do. There's all kind of houses that sit in close proximity to the bottom of Blanket Bottom Creek, and it's possible they will flood out, especially with high-density zoning. You can't high-density zone any of these slopes, where it's Harper Road or Louisville Clemens Road. All the water goes down to Little Blanket Bottom Creek. And they say, well, most of the time it's dry. Yes, most of the time. But when the storms come and it rains steady for 3-4 days, just like it did in Asheville. Asheville's got the slopes. You see what happened to them. We got the slopes. We got slopes on the west side, and we got slopes on the east side. 421 Clemens sits on a ridge right in the middle. with 2 floodplains on both sides. This is dangerous. It really needs to be thought over and looked at by the Army Corps of Engineers. And I suggest they do that before anything is completed, because they can change that map around a whole lot, trust me. With the traffic, I stood on my top of my pickup truck and took them pictures, and I couldn't believe it.
I think that was West Forsyth, correct?
West Forsyth High School, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's, they all come at the same time.
All right.
About 10 minutes before they have to be in class. Okay. That's when they all come. That's about all I have to say, but this is a dangerous valley, and it could flood a lot of people.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Constance. That was great. Any other, how much time do we have left?
3.5 minutes.
We have 3.5 minutes left. If anyone else would like to speak in opposition. Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. Any discussion? Anyone would like to make a motion?
So can you remind me why the special use designation that the petitioner is requesting versus limited use for the highway business?
They're both special use. What happens is whenever they don't have an end user for parcels, however it be, they can do something called two-phase. It's a IPS for the school and a HBS two-phase for the commercial on the front. And what happens is if that ultimately gets approved by the county commissioners, then that second phase development would come as a final development plan that would come back to planning board. The zoning's in place, you would be approving the site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with a comprehensive plan.
We have a motion by Mr. Lamb. Second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Aye, oppose the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of F-1661, including the CETA request.
I have a motion by Mr. Lamb. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion?
So, but we're not voting on the CETA request. Or that's just part of the.
Right.
We're just passing
Maybe I
it
shouldn't
along.
It's probably best to omit it, because at the end of the day, that's.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to amend my motion. I move the planning board recommend approval of F-1661.
I'll continue to second that.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Oppose the same sign. That is unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we'll now move on to, I've got to get my agenda. I think it's item E. It's rare that we have anything that high, which is the consideration of the adoption of the work program.
We don't approve this.
We sent the work program out in your packet before the May work session, and
Agreed.
we had some questions at the work session. I believe most folks were comfortable with it, but in deference to Mr. Stillman, who was not there, who did have some questions leading into the meeting, the planning board did not take action. So with that, I'll turn to Amy, who can probably say the exact same thing I just said, and then ask you if you have any questions.
Yeah, before you start, we did go through it. We could go through it again. Or Mr. Stillman, if you had any, I think we addressed all of your concerns.
The only thing that I would like to see at someone's convenience is what those replies were.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do not want that to hold up anything today.
Okay. So if you want to give a high level for the public. And then
Yeah,
we can
certainly.
move forward.
Good evening, Chair and Board. So you have the work program in front of you. I'll just talk about a couple high-level items on here. There's a lot of stuff that continues or is ongoing from past years, but one thing that we will start to do is that we haven't done in the past couple years, since we were working on Ford 2045. Now we're going to start implementing Ford 2045. So you'll see some items related to that. So we'll have updates to the area plans. So there'll be updates to the area plan updates. We'll probably come up with a better name than that, but but we're looking to do 2 of those this work program this fiscal year. So one in the fall and then one in the spring. Those will look a little bit different than we have in the past. They'll focus mainly on land use, and they'll be shorter, more condensed documents, similar to how we've done with the 42045 being a shorter, more condensed document. We'll also be starting our research and looking at various items that we can then hopefully move forward on implementation, whether it's UDO text amendments or other recommendations, but we need to do the research first. So you can see a couple items there mentioned about research, namely for, barriers to infill development, manufactured homes, land trusts, and things like that. So doing that background research. And looking at our peer communities and seeing what they do and what's from a either regional or national level to get to see how we should proceed. Some other items on here of note. We'll be starting to coordinate with sanitation and recycling. That's at the discretion and request of the Assistant City Manager King. And then we're also looking at, there's an item here, I don't know where this will go, but because it changes every day, but changes to the general statute. HB 765 seems to be going away, but parts of it seems to be clobbed onto other things. So who really knows at this point? But that will be a fairly large undertaking if it does move forward, or any sort of idea of that or goes forward. We are looking to start looking at missing middle housing and changes to our UDO regarding housing, and doing some outreach that will start in August. We're looking at to do some outreach and seeing how we can sort of tackle those issues. That will be a large undertaking. Let's see. The other really large item that's probably not something we usually do a lot of is the datum transfer. That's coming supposedly in March of 26, which could, I made this reference that it could be Y2K, which some of our younger folks may not understand what that is. I'm dating myself. Or it could be a really big thing. I'm not really sure how it'll be, but it could potentially mean that we have to remap everything and redo all the lines, which was a huge project for our GIS folks. So we wanted to acknowledge that it's going to be a large undertaking, or has the potential to be a large undertaking. But otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has about a particular item.
Just one question. The middle housing, you'll be tackling it from a more of a development or a design ordinance?
It'll be mainly from a development sort of UDO code. Obviously we are limited in what we can do from a design perspective based off of state statute, that anything under the residential code, which is essentially 1 or 2 unit dwellings or townhomes, basically you can't really have any design aspects to that. So it's really going to be more from a UDO code standpoint, looking at land use, what's allowed under different districts. Should we change districts? Should we expand them? Things of that nature. Should we increase density? Not increase density? Should we try to allow attached product in single family? Should we lower lot sizes? All those sorts of items are all sort of on the table as to potential changes that could help with residential development. It could also be things like removing some of the development costs, like parking requirements, and just sort of leaving that to the lenders and then the market to decide on how they tackle that and address parking. So there's lots of things on the table right now. We just want to go out to the public and get their thoughts on a really focused discussion. We talked about housing during 42045, but not in the specifics of what a text amendments could look like or what people would be supportive of. So we want to do some outreach on that.
So no vacations this year either?
We're trying to...
Still fit those in.
Yeah, we're trying to fit it in. We're looking at the end of August simply because school will be back in session at that point. So hopefully everyone's summer vacations will have happened since their children will be back in school, so more people will be in town. So that's, and all our staff vacations hopefully will be completed, so that way staff availability will be there.
Yes, anyone? Thank you.
I would move that we adopt the fiscal year 25-26 Planning Board Work Program.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposition, same side. I would like to share to staff, like, I don't know if the community knows how hard you all really work. I know our planning department, we get rave reviews a lot from other municipalities, so thank you for your work as well.
And from developers. And from developers.
Thank you for those kind words. Mr. Chairman, that brings us to staff report, item F on the agenda, and I do have a few things. I would normally turn to Kirk for a work session preview, but since you adopted the work program, we're not going to have a work session in June. I don't think I'll have many folks that are heartbroken over that. We do have an article to share that Jack wanted us to share. We will send that email out in advance of the work session. It was an article that was in the Winston-Salem Journal this past weekend dealing with the housing crisis, and it was a good article. So again, we will send that out and share that. The second item is I'll turn to Mark, who'll give a July zoning case preview.
So our July 10th Planning Board has 7 total items, 3 new rezonings, 2 continued rezonings, 1 Planning Board review, and 1 planned residential development.
That's better. That's great.
With that, we do have a new staff member that I would like to introduce. She's been sitting here and got a lot of planning cases that she has seen today, but Isabel Coletti started in our department this week, and she's originally from Asheville, and she received a Bachelor of Arts in History from UNC Asheville, and she recently just completed her Master's of Science in Historic Preservation from Tulane. Cool. And besides her education, she does come to us with a lot of practical experience, including an internship in historic preservation in Salisbury. So with that, I'll ask Isabel to stand up, and if you would like to say anything, feel free. If not, you don't have to, but...
You pretty much covered it. So I'm really excited to be back in North Carolina. That was the goal after being in New Orleans. I was like, oh yeah, I like North Carolina better. And it's just a lot of really, small towns and communities, and they really care about the people in their towns and cities. We always joked about, the corruption in New Orleans, and it's just like I didn't really see that, and I saw it in Salisbury, where they really cared about making the community thrive and the businesses thrive. So I'm very excited to be a part of that.
Thank you, Isabella. Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, just 2 other things briefly. You adopted the work program. You heard Amy speaking of when we hope to begin some of the work on Forward 2045. We do have at this point a date with the county commissioners. It's going to be, I think they're going to be considering it on, what did I tell you earlier? August 28th.
August 28th.
Yeah, August 28th.
At 2 o'clock, I think you said.
So, hopefully the county commissioners will be able to adopt Forward 2045 at that point. They were waiting for an HDR industrial site study to be completed, and that is wrapping up, and they hope that that's going to be presented in June or July to the commissioners. So with that, they're ready to move forward with that. The last thing I will say is, again, kind of tying into Forward 2045, kind of tying into where we're going to be beginning the area plan process and tying into at least 2 of the 3 cases today. I think we're going to see more and more angst over development and redevelopment, especially in light of the Northern Beltway and kind of from the center city to there. I think we're going to see a lot of opportunities, but again, I think that's going to bring about its own challenges, because you're going to have folks who see change, and their viewpoint is a valid viewpoint, but a lot of the times, a lot of the criticisms we've heard over the years are that there aren't a lot of opportunities in these areas, and I think the Beltway is going to bring that opportunity. So we've got to be able to try to find that mix. So moving forward with area plans and moving forward with cases coming forward, I think that's going to continue to be a struggle that we're going to see. And with that, I stand ready to answer any questions, but that's all I have under staff report.
I'd just like to add one thing for everybody, and that is a great, great, great big economic development. Congratulations to the Triad for successfully recruiting a 14,000 job employer in Jet Zero. That's transformative.
Potentially.
Yeah.
The airport, acres now, and go up to 1,000. I've never seen a blended wing plane except for a B-2 bomber. But I never thought that Boom would be as far along as they are.
Lots of exciting things.
Kill Devil Hill.
All right, with the idea of maybe we'll take a vacation to Kill Devil Hill, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.